Stop taking video.
No.
Am I on?
Yeah.
Hello. Good morning. I don't know what day it is. It's July 16th or something like that. Welcome to colonicsLady.com and joining my friend Jessie and myself. And today's topic is, it does have to do with stewardship of the temple, but we're going to show you a principle that works all the time, and that we use it to raise our children. This is how I raised my children. It's basic principle out of 2 Timothy, 2 Timothy 3:16 and 2 Timothy 2:15. So with those basic instructions, you can go in and do anything right. And I'm going to show you how. So, Jessie, go ahead.
So are we going to be talking about the basic power for abundant living?
Yes, we are going to talk about the that scripture. God says, "I would that ye get born again and come to an accurate knowledge of the truth." And that's where we're always the arguments come up, like the grace. We're saved by grace, but the abundant life is something you have to do, because the thief is trying to steal it from us. So we have to know the word in order to obtain the abundant life. And it's a lot more fun being born again and obtaining the abundant life, because, did you know that in mental institutions, it's a higher number of Christians in there?
Really?
So they got born again, but they didn't get taught the abundant life, and it's right in the scripture. So that's where we're going to segue here. Yes, it is.
So how do you accomplish this power for abundant living?
Okay, good question. She's thinking. Okay, so John 10:10, we'll start with that. The thief cometh not but for to steal, kill, and destroy. That's his threefold mission. I am come, Jesus Christ says, that they might have life and have it more than abundantly. More than abundantly. So either Jesus Christ was lying or telling the truth. So we have to figure that out. So you have to know the word. You have to know, especially the New Testament, because that was written to this time on the planet. And it's grace. It's grace. But I'm going to go to 2 Timothy 3:16. Now, I was in ministry in my teens, and I was in seminary in my late 20s. So throughout those years, Power for Abundant Living was a class we took, and it was such a simple class on teaching you what was available from the word in its simplest form, and how to receive it and what to do with it. So I was taught from the very beginning of being involved with ministry, basic daily things from the word. And I'm so glad. It was never, it just, because it works. It works, and everybody has to go back to basics all the time anyway, no matter how much you study the word. And of course, I had 8 hours of Bible for years, so you can get into all the complicated and deep stuff too. But what we learned, and I'm so glad, because I was a single mom, and I had a son I was raising at age 19 till I was 25 by myself. He did not obey me. His dad was very abusive to me. So this boy, my son, picked up all his habits. He would spit on me, he would bite me, and people would have to tear him off. My family, my friends, if I went somewhere with my friends, they'd have to make him stop spitting on me and tell him not to, and and reprove him. And same with my family. So everybody knew he was like this. He was just imitating his dad, but I wasn't in the word, and I didn't understand. And I didn't even know I had parented myself and my own parents. So I, I didn't know anything what to do. So when I got involved in the ministry, what I loved about this ministry was the children would sit with their hands on their lap and out of respect listen to the word. And they how they trained their kids. They trained their kids out of Ephesians. Um, uh, Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. And then um, that's 6:1-4, that it will be well with thee, and thou mayest live long on the earth. And it teaches them how to honor their father and mother. So we were trained to go in and teach our kids the word. So this is how it would go. First of all, I'm going to go into 2 Timothy 3:16. All scripture is given by inspiration of God. There's no exceptions. It's all from God, and is profitable for doctrine, that for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness, so the man of God may be perfect, thoroughly furnished unto all good works. So this is God's heart for us at all times. So if you take this principle, you can use it anywhere. I use the same principle in my office, in my life with my friends. I never strayed from it. So this would be how it looked when my kids were. So I had another child while I was dealing with, I did get married to a ministry man. So we were raising the baby right from Ephesians, Timothy. So I started raising my son that way too. I had to retrain him. I had to retrain my son from about 5 years old till he was about 8 or 9, and I retrained him. I stayed home and I parented him every moment of the day. My family was like, "What are you doing?" He was so out of control. And then they were like, "What are you doing?" And then by the time he was like 8 years old, everybody loved him because the parent went in and retrained him, and that was my responsibility. But you have to be with your kids, parents, to train your kids. And so after being a single mom, I was really ready to do this because I saw what it had done to my son, not being that parent. So John Bradshaw, it was somebody's books that I read a lot of too. He's a great teacher of um, how to raise your children, and all from the word. So this is how this would look. So if I told my son to go in and clean his room, the doctrine would be you need to clean your room. Now, you can't ever reprove a child for something that you never taught first. You never reprove a child for something they didn't know. And they're little. How do they know? So I took him in, taught him how to clean his room all the way, top to bottom, what to do. So now he knows. So I say, go clean your room. And if he would go in there and play instead of clean his room, the reproof would be you would remind him what the instruction was, what the doctrine. And this is what you do every time with your kid. And it works. It works, especially if you start when they're real young. They're used to that. That's their norm. Anything else would be insanity. And first time obedience is what we wanted. We didn't always get it, but we got it more than not. So then, if, let's just say, go clean your room, and he would say, no, I'm going to play instead. And that would be defiant um, purpose, on purpose. Then we had a wooden spoon, we'd sting his leg and just sting it, get his attention and say, now what did mom tell you to do? Oh, clean my room, but I still don't want to. Well, you need to. You go in there and clean the room. And that would be the reproof. And the correction is Children, obey your parents in the Lord. See, then you speak the word to them. The reason you need to do this is you need to obey your parents and do the right thing. So you learn how to honor your parents, but it will be well with thee, and thou mayest live long on the earth, like it says in Ephesians. And that's how you train your kids. And you would be surprised, they will almost always come over and give you a hug and a kiss when they were all done. It stops the child from going into condemnation. It's deliverance. You're teaching them how to be with God and do the right things on a moment to moment decision in their lives. And that's what the parents do. They prepare the child to obey. And a disobedient child is a dead child, by the way, because in Ephesians, when it's in 6:1-4, that children obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right, that encompasses their physical safety. That's a promise from God for their physical safety. Johnny, do not go off the pavement. That's the doctrine. Do not go off the pavement. You can get hurt. Go off the pavement. You could get hit by this car. So it protects them physically. That's God's heart behind it. So they're blessed when they do the word, and they learn that at a young age. I did it with my daughter before she could even walk and talk. I did it with a sting when she would eat, and they take their hands and want to put them in the mouth when you first time you start feeding them, because that's a natural thing. But if you sting them, gets their attention, and I would say no. And I learned this from a 18-year-old girl in ministry. They would put their hands, she would put her hands down, and then after a while, I never had a stinger. I just say no. So no meant sting. Put her hands down. I never put a bib on her when I fed her. Never after that point. Because she was there to eat. She got trained just to do what she was there to do. Never had a problem. I could feed her anywhere. I was like, when I saw this woman feeding her child, the child would sit there and go, and just eat. No mess, no nothing. See, this is part of renewing their mind. You're teaching the children how to renew their mind as babies, which is one of the biggest problems with adults. They don't know how to renew their mind to the word because they don't even know the word and they didn't study it. Well, you as a parent are putting the word in every part of their being because you're doing your job. And parents, you better be in the Lord. Did you know your children do not have to obey you if you're not in the Lord, in fellowship with God. They don't have to obey you. It's a check and balance system. You got to be doing the word and in the word, and then the child. And my child even reproved me for that at age 12. And she was right. And I said, you're right. That's not really the word. Just hold on a minute and let me rephrase what I just asked you to do. And I rephrased it. She goes, okay, now I'll obey you. She reproved me and I had to get in the word. That's how well she was taught. That only happened once. And she never was mouthy. My kids could talk to me about anything respectfully. We could have conversations about anything. So we wonder why our kids are out of control. If your kid's out of control, it's because the parent doesn't know what they're doing. Period. That's trauma. Trauma. And I had a trauma kid because dad showed him very disrespectfully how to treat the mother. And it says, fathers, respect the mothers of your children. Oh my gosh. This boy is 45 years old, and he spoke in tongues when he was 5. I taught him the word. He did do a big turnaround. Actually, I was told that he probably would not have seen 20 years old had he not been retrained, because he would have went off the deep end. But we grounded him and all that, and he's a great kid. He might not believe the way I do, and in what, I believe, but he's a great kid. We got to go to another one.
All right, we'll be back.
Thanks. See you in a minute.